Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor, online here with, you know him. His name is Tom Santinella. What's going on, Tom?
What's going on, Joe? Good morning.
And good morning. And you guys are on the Fire and Ice show every Wednesday. Tom, I'm excited about this episode because we're going to talk about a position we don't talk about as much. We've been so focused on wide receivers, running back battle, stuff like that. We got to talk about those quarterback battles. And there's some going on, man. Believe it or not, there's some guys here that could surprise us, could get the start, that aren't getting the start at the beginning of the season. So, Tom, we've got a list of some players here that we're going to talk about, some battles, including the Bears, the Dolphins, a couple other battles, including the Chargers. We're going to talk a little bit about Colin Kaepernick and the situation there. Is he going to get signed? Cam Newton, a little bit there. We're going to cover quarterbacks today. Tom, before we get into that, though, did you get 16 rounds yet? I don't think you have.
I'm a last-minute shopper.
Last-minute shopper. Yeah, a lot of people are, and it's weird because it's like we get all our orders in August, but guys, get the 16 round because I may raise the price. This thing is, selling like hotcakes already. But get the 16 round draft solution. This is the game changer, Tom. Scrap the draft kits and the cheat sheets. 16 rounds will help you guys dominate your leagues. There is a link here below on YouTube, and of course, guys, head on over to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. Another announcement, Tim, we're doing Fan-to-Fan Network. There's a link to Twitch below.
Tim?
What's that?
Just call me Tim.
Did they call you Tim? Oh no, there's only one bald guy. Sorry, Tom. I'm so used to Tim being around. All right, Tom, listen, we're doing the Fan-to-Fan Network below, so make sure you guys are following. We're taking over the sports industry. We've got all the top influencers from every YouTube channel for NFL page. We've got them all in one spot. We're launching in July. There's a link below to Twitch. That's where we're going to be broadcasting our live streams with all these analysts. It's going to be phenomenal. So head on over to, there's an Instagram page, Fan-to-Fan Network, but also below, guys, follow on Twitch. And, of course, leave your fantasy questions below. So those are all the plugs, all the up-to-date information. Tom, let's start off with the quarterbacks. Which battle do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about Kaepernick first? Do you want to get that out of the way?
No.
Kaepernick, that one? Not yet.
Main battle. There's a few rookie battles. There's a couple rookie battles, a couple so-so battle. I mean, the battle everybody, I don't know if everybody's really looking at it, but the most obvious battle is obviously in Chicago.
Yeah.
Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky. And I've spoke about this other places before. And it's an interesting dynamic because Trubisky's already played 3 years in the NFL, and most quarterbacks, they kind of advance in years 2 and 3. That's when you really see them pick it up to see if they have it or not. He's going into year 4. I don't think they like him there. I think they feel like he's already reached his ceiling, and they brought in Nick Foles, who has familiarity with the offense. He played in Philadelphia. Nagy worked with Doug Peterson, the coach there in Kansas City. Similar offense. They're friends. They know each other. I really think he brought him in to be a safety net as far as managing the offense. The team is built around defense. The offense isn't explosive. They're not really, I don't like the way the offense is built. I don't like it at all, but they're built tough. They're built on the defense. I think they want a quarterback that's not going to make mistakes, but that can move the ball, that doesn't, freeze at the end of the game, that can run the 2-minute drill, but they know Foles isn't a game changer, but I don't think they care. I think they want somebody who's not going to lose them football games and that's going to keep them in the games. It's funny, Mitch Trubisky, I'll mention it in a few, and he came out and said, so I'll say it now. He came out and said something the other day that
I think I read this. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I had the exact quote somewhere, but he said it's basically,
he's going to play with all his heart or something, like he's going to give it his all or leave it all out there or something, one of those quotes.
Oh, he said, well, yeah, but he said it's basically like he's got the advantage going into camp because he's the incumbent. He's been the starter for a couple years. He knows the offense better. It's his team, his locker room. Well, I disagree. I think he's basically saying if there's a tie, it goes to me. But he says he does it in his defense. He acknowledges, listen, I got to go on the field to compete. But in his defense, he does say that, but in reality, I disagree. And if it's a tie, it's going to Foles because I think they want somebody they can trust. Nagy's job's on the line. The GM's job's on the line. When your job's on the line, you go with someone you can trust. You don't want to take that gamble. Going with Trubisky is going to be a gamble. I don't think you like Trubisky that much. You didn't like him last year, right?
I'm not really high on the biscuit. He doesn't excite me, and he doesn't inflate the fantasy relevance around the people around him. So Nick Foles, I mean, Super Bowl winner here. Super Bowl winner Nick Foles. I mean, there's some experience there. Obviously, he didn't take them all the way to the Super Bowl. Carson Wentz had some help with that, obviously. But I think I read somewhere again, Mitch Trubisky saying he's going to take control of that team. It's basically his job to lose and all this stuff. I can't remember where I read it, but bottom line is I'm just not sold on the biscuit. I mean, I'm really not. What did he peak at? 2018, he had 14 games, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, only 17 touchdowns last year, 10 interceptions. What do you have, a rating of 82.98? His quarterback rating, something like that, is not very high, man. He's just not doing really good things there. And he's not going to inflate the fantasy relevance of any of those players.
You want to know something something that's funny about this? He actually has a winning record, 23-18 overall in 3 years, which is not bad. I think a lot of it, he was 12-4 in that 1 year though, sandwiched in the middle, but 23-18. I mean, that's a winning record as a quarterback, but I think that's deceiving because they've had a great defense. I also think it's deceiving because, it's weird because, like I always say, the Jets finished 6-2 last year. It's hard to win 6 games out of any 8, but they played, bad teams. It's just, I don't think it's a good 23-18 for him.
It's a scrape.
But yeah, I think Foles, it's weird because Foles has had his chances. He was not good in any offenses other than Philly. However, this is a similar offense from what I hear that they're going to be running if he's in it. Last year, he got hurt. He only started over 10 games twice. He started 10 games in 2013 and 11 in 2015. The problem is I don't think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL based on his experience. He was a gamble for Jacksonville last year. He went 0-4 as a starter last year. To be fair to him, he got hurt in week 1. And when he came back, I don't know if he was fully healthy or not. He looked good for like a drive or two in the first game of the season. So, and he got benched again when he came back. So I think he's an elite backup quarterback. To me, that's what he is.
He just comes in and gets the job done when he needs to. Like, he's not going to be a guy that'll manage the games and start the games and win the games. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
But you've watched more Bear games than I have, maybe. Yeah. What is their offense? It's not built to be dynamic. It's built to hit the short passes, the West Coast offense. It's built to run, they're supposed to run the ball a little bit, get the running back involved, which they don't always. But Nagy made a lot of mistakes, right?
I don't know. It just seemed like it was really a tough offense to watch. They just couldn't get the run game established. Every time Montgomery got momentum, they bring in Cohen on 3rd and 1. He'd run for negative yards. Like, why would you run Tariq Cohen on 3rd and 1 when you've got a bruiser and the other guy, Montgomery? And it's just one of those offenses. It's like, it's just a tough to watch offense because they can't get a groove going. They don't get the momentum down the field. It's just one of those scrape by kind of offenses. And I don't even know if Foles is going to inflate that for them. I don't think he will.
You know what Tariq Cohen said the other day about the Bears? He said, I feel like we're just going to simplify things now. I feel at times last year we just made things too hard on ourselves and we didn't have people guessing. Basically going on to say we were too predictable.
Right.
He said this year, I guess the change is, all they have is Zoom meetings. It's going to be hard to tell who's going to get the ball and when or how they're getting the ball. But last year, he's saying they were too predictable. Even he called out the coaching staff and the offense, which is Matt Nagy. He's the offensive coach. So they were a mess last year. You and I both agree on the coaching. I think Foles wins the job just because they brought in Jimmy Graham, who excites nobody. They got the rookie tight end Cole Kmet. Allen Robinson, he's reliable when healthy. He's only had 2 1,000-yard seasons in 6 years, so I don't like the consistency there. He's good if he can stay healthy. But I think Nick Foles is a guy that will just get the chance here. This is the kind of offense he will thrive in. I think he can play well in this offense. I'm sorry, well enough to fight for that division because I think the Packers take a step down. I think they're going veterans. And when you're on the hot seat, you go with guys you can trust. You go with veterans. Who do you think wins the job?
I think Foles, because I think Mitch Trubisky was on a short leash last year. There was a point where Mitch got benched. I think it was near the end of the season, or he got benched at some point in the season. Chase Daniel came in, yeah, but and you thought, okay, this is the end of Mitch, right? And then you hear Mitch is the starter again. But we thought that Mitch was done last season. We thought he was done for the season. So I think Foles could run away with that job. One slip up. I think they're going to start Mitch probably the first 1 or 2 games, 3 games. If he's he's got a losing record, and then I think they're going to give. If he wins, I think he stays on.
I think Foles gets the job. You got to remember, this is a team where you're going to go out there and try to score 30 points. They're not built for that. They're built, the defense is the key, and they're going to play around that game, ball control on offense, move the ball, short passes. They're not going to try to sling it and score 30 points. They're just not built for that. Now, they just want to limit the mistakes and keep themselves in the games in the fourth quarter. I will say this, the only way Trubisky wins the job, in my opinion, is if he's lights out during camp and he starts slinging the ball like he's a 300-yard a game passer. I don't see that happening, but I feel like that's the only way he wins the job.
I thought it was a different mindset. I thought they're going to start Mitch, in my opinion. If he messes up, it's kind of his job to lose. So I don't know. Maybe they do that way.
I don't think you bring a backup and paying him 18 mil to put on the bench. I don't see it. There's other backups. So if you want to go over later, it's not that important for the show. But like Case Keenum, they're paying him a lot of money. Case Keenum, do you know Chase Daniel's making 3 years, $13 million in Detroit? They had no backup last year when Stafford got hurt. Case Keenum, 3 years, $18 million with 10 guaranteed for a backup quarterback. He has experience in Stefanski's offense. When he was in Minnesota, Stefanski was his QB coach. Case Keenum, if Baker struggles, he's going to get thrown in there. I've talked to some people close to the situation, but backup quarterback, Mariota's getting $7.5 million. Backup quarterbacks. But those are Tannehill was a high end to me. I don't like the guy. I think he's a high end back, low level starter. But hey, I don't think Foles is a backup, but he's getting paid $18 million. I mean, they could have went out and got somebody else, but he fits the offense. So
yeah, so he's not even like a true backup. He's one of those like backups with potential to start. That's the thing.
Yeah.
With Foles. So yeah, let's move on here. What about do you want to talk about the Dolphins?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so Tua comes in now. Obviously, a lot of upside. They've made some improvements on that offense all around. I'm hoping they have a good team. I'm not trusting any of them for fantasy, by the way, when you're looking at these guys. But Tua's got a high ceiling, going pretty much undrafted in all fantasy drafts. Magic, Fitzmagic gets the start, you would say, probably as well? Or how do you see this thing playing out? When does Tua come in?
I mean, I think if Tua comes in camp and is lights out and is the man and is healthy, and they feel like in camp in preseason, he's the man to lead them to the playoffs. He'll get the nod week 1. With that said, I don't think if his health, if he's not 100%, there's no reason to risk him to start the season. They're not built for the playoffs this year, in my opinion, even though the division's wide open with Buffalo at the lead, depending on how Stidham does in New England. I don't think you risk him unless he just comes in and like he was, say he was coming out of college 2 years ago and he's ready for that jump. You got to remember, Tua was the consensus number 1 player coming into the draft this year when the season started, even halfway during the collegiate season.
Right.
If the competition's close and Tua's healthy, I can see what you said. Fitz comes in, he goes 1-4, 3-6. Who knows? He could be a 3-0 Fitz, and then a disaster strike. It always strikes with Fitzpatrick. Listen, Fitzpatrick, he's never, ever, 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 ever made the playoffs. He's a backup QB that has been fooled a couple teams and gotten paid a couple times. That's who he is. He's a below average QB. If he starts, he's had 1 winning season in 14 years. Granted, he hasn't always come in as a starter, and he's been on some bad teams, but that's who he is. He's a bad quarterback. You can't try to say he's just around. I don't know why people give him starting gigs. He got benched last year in Miami. When they were the worst team in football, he got benched. And some say that was the worst football team of all time, the first 8 games last year.
Right.
He would come back. He won a couple games. Same old story. Now he's not a good quarterback. He will turn the ball over and he will not lead you to the playoffs. So you have no chance with Fitzpatrick to go to the playoffs. I'm sorry. He's played 14 years in the league. I mean, he's had 1 winning season in 14 years, and that he didn't even go to the playoffs. That was in the Jets.
Why don't you just say it? Years to wow me, and I'm not wowed. He wowed us for a few games, right?
Yeah, he's a backup. When Winston got hurt in Tampa, or I think he was suspended, I don't know, whatever happened. He came in, won a few games, and then that's it. But then he did that earlier in his career, and he got $60 million from Buffalo because he came in, won a few games, and they give him a contract. He fooled people just because he went to Harvard. I mean, nobody cares about Harvard in the NFL. So I think Tua is the man. I think Fitzpatrick, if it's close, he'll get the job. But if Tua comes in like he was supposed to be, that NFL prospect, I've talked to some people close to the scouts. A lot of people still believe Tua is the best quarterback in this draft if you take health out of the equation. He was just that good at college before Burrow had that career year.
Playing 8 games, though, in 2017, 15 games in 2018, 9 games in 2019. He's only finished 1 season.
Yeah.
It's not good.
But he had 40 touchdowns at 15 games. I mean, he was remarkable.
Yeah.
But let's see. I mean, like I told you, I gave you my opinion. Who do you think wins the job? It sounds like you're leaning Fitzy.
Yeah, it's what Fitzy's one of the Fitzy. He's one of those guys that's just not going to get it done. He's not going to take you guys anywhere far. There's no potential upside there. There's no real future. He's just a guy to plug in just to get you through the week. Really. So
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Would you draft Fitzpatrick or Tua late round?
Probably Tua if I had to, but I'm staying away from both of them because there's tons of value at quarterback. I get myself a Drew Locke who's a locked-in starter. Why would I go and grab a potential starter, right? Although the upside's there. Trust me, the upside is there for Tua. I don't know. Probably by week 4, week 5.
Week 4, week 5. But I don't know if you can answer this because we haven't seen him play, but if Tua comes in to see, and he wins the job, is there potential there in that offense? I think they're a year away. I like the PJ kid on the outside, the receiver, Devontae, is okay. He had his breakout year last year, but I still don't consider them
Williams.
Yeah, I don't know. Tua producing this year, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be that productive fantasy wise if he wins the job week 1.
Well, he's a rookie, right? And he's an offense that's trying to repair what they did repair last year. And it's going to be tough to build that team up if you're a young guy coming in. A lot of pressure. First of all, you got to get comfortable with the offense, the speed of the NFL. Now you're trying to build a team up that was like, the bad news Bears last year, whatever you want to call them. They're just a terrible team. It's going to be tough, man. I stay away from fantasy completely. But you got some talent around you. Preston Williams, like we said, Devontae Parker there. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch. They've got Gesicki there at tight end and catch the ball.
Okay.
Something to watch. It'll be an interesting thing.
New offensive coordinator there this year too.
I'll be at the sidelines watching the Dolphins. I'm not investing in fantasy with any Dolphins players. Maybe Parker's got a ceiling, but I'm still not going to invest. I think his ADP is a little high for me.
Hey, when Fitzpatrick had that miraculous 4-game run, did people fly to pick him up?
People that needed him. No, I didn't jump on it, right? Because you don't believe it.
Foles is he Foles gold?
Yes.
I don't even know if he can do that anymore. He was horrible last year.
People just jump on the recency bias. So that year he had that big year. What was it with? With the Buccaneers? Was it he was playing with?
Yeah.
People were crazy about him just for those weeks, and then they got off the train when it went slowed down. So yeah, Tua's going to take that job. Depends when. Hopefully, he stays healthy. It'll be pretty evident in the training camps for sure.
Okay.
All right, next guys here. Redskins. Do we even care? We don't want to spend too much
time.
You
know what? We got the Chargers more important. Then we can touch on the Redskins. I have an opinion on the Redskins. You want to do the Chargers first? Since this Chargers are a really similar situation to this.
Yeah, and stay tuned for the cap talk at the end. We got to talk about Colin Kaepernick here. All right, go ahead.
The Chargers are in a similar situation to Miami. They took a quarterback 6th. I think he's from California. He grew up a Chargers fan. Herbert. Justin Herbert. He's the future of the franchise, or at least he'll be given the opportunity like Trubisky was to prove it. Have to look at when he's ready. I don't know. He's definitely competing for the job. I think this is a little different where Tyrod has a couple more notches to go into this as the starter, an advantage. Like you said, similar to Tua, he doesn't have the health issues. If he blows it away, he will get it. I think he fits this roster better than Tyrod Taylor. He's a guy that has the arm. He can sling it. Tyrod Taylor, we'll get to him in a minute, but I just see how he picks up the NFL game. The funny thing is in college, he had a really good 2018. He followed up with a good 2019, and I think a lot of people that I've spoken to expected him to have a better 2019 and compete with Tua for the number 1 pick, but he did not have that year statistically. However, one thing people don't look at, he did a better job as a teammate and a leader. He went from, I think they were like 6-5 or something that year in 18 to winning the Pac-12. And that's important because I haven't really done a real study on it, but you look back at college quarterbacks who were losers, and they don't usually fare that well in the NFL. More often than not, they don't, especially when they get picked higher. But you want guys that go to bowl games, that have better records. You want winners. You want guys that know how to lead a team. And that was important for me that he did that last year in Oregon. He didn't look as good as he did in 18 or similar to what he did. He looked, and to me, I think, this is, they had 2,000 yards receivers last year, and their running back almost had he almost had 1,000. He had 993. They had a top tight end talent. They got some studs on D. They got a solid D. They just looked horrible on offense last year. Their line wasn't that good last year. Tyrod Taylor, He's tough. He can keep him
tough.
in the playoff hunt. But I mean, he went to the playoffs in Buffalo, but he keeps you in it. He had a bad season a couple years ago in Cleveland, but everybody does. The problem with this is, Joe, I can see Tyrod Taylor sneaking them into the wild card if they gel, and Herbert not getting even a chance. Or he could be in one of those situations where a couple years ago the Ravens took Flacco out and they put Lamar in when they were in the wild card hunt, and they wanted the edge because they knew they weren't going anywhere deep with him. And maybe by then, by week 10, week 12, week 13, Herbert will be ready. And they're like, you know how you barely winning games? You're like, say, 7-5. Maybe you started off 7-2.
Right.
And then you're 7-5. Then you're 8-5. You got a couple games left. If you want to make the playoffs and you want a chance to actually do something in the playoffs, you need Herbert to actually come out and sling it, right? Especially with that offense. You like that offense, right?
Well, listen, Tyrod's not going to be your franchise guy. He's not going to get you far. I've watched him play in Buffalo. I mean, it's one of those guys that, like, you're down by, let's say, 4 points. You need a touchdown. You got 2 minutes on the clock. This is a guy that will go 3 and out. Like, he won't do anything. He's so anticlimactic. He's not a guy that'll win you games. I've watched him. I've watched him. He's not going to do it. Herbert fits the mold as that prototypical, quarterback, 6'6", 236. His touchdown interception ratio in his last year at college, 32 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He looked good. I mean, he could be a guy that could get the start maybe week 4 or 5 once Tyrod craps the bed again. You don't see that?
You think I usually like to, and I'll give my opinion more as camp goes on. I'm very opinionated right now in football.
Yeah.
I can see this playing out a number of different ways. I can see Tyrod past his prime, and his prime was in Buffalo when he took him to the playoffs. I can see him past his prime. He played horrible in Cleveland, and I can see him just being atrocious, and Herbert gets the job. Or I could see him come out to like he played in Buffalo. And listen, Anthony Lynn might not be on the hot seat, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got fired at the end of the year if they don't win. Telesco has been there for a long time. I mean, come on. But I can see, for example, them starting with Tyrod because no coach wants to go in there and go like 3-13 if your rookie quarterback's not ready. What if he goes in there and wins? I mean, he can. That division is tough. That's a tough division. That's another thing to look at.
So let's just say, here's an example. I want to talk mental game here with quarterbacks. So let's just say, Tyrod comes in, goes 1-3, and they take him out. They start Herbert. Herbert comes in, loses the next 3 games. Do you now start Tyrod again, or is Tyrod's self-esteem now shot? What do you do?
I think you have to. I've talked to some NFL head coaches before. What they really like to read the quarterback. First thing they don't want them to do on the mental side is lose the locker room. And if you put the kid in there when he's not ready, and I mean, listen, you draft him 6th overall. If he's tough, mentally tough, and you think he can handle it, you do it. Like Joe Burrow, I don't think there's a problem with that. He's starting from week 1. But some quarterbacks, they'll lose the locker room. They'll never be the same ever. I remember a story from Bruce Arians. I think I was at a table. He told, I think it was Logan Thomas a couple years ago. He wouldn't give him the job, the rookie. I think he was out of Virginia Tech. I'm not sure. When I think Carson Palmer was the quarterback when he got hurt that year. Right. And they had they gave the third string or whoever it was the job because they didn't think he could handle it. But so I see that happen a lot. And I don't know. I think Herbert is a tough enough kid where it's not going to matter. But mentally, I would like last year, the Dolphins did it with Rosen. He was in his 2nd year, but I think they just, and then they took him back out. So I think it can be devastating for the player if you play. I think once you go to him, you let him finish the season.
Right.
He's playing poor. You let him figure it out. You have to.
Yeah, you can't. And then because you've already shot down Tyrod essentially, and then now you're going to bring him back now. It's just then then your quarterback's going to lose confidence, right? You're right.
If that scenario plays out in reality, they're going to be 1-6 or something like that. They're not playing for the playoffs. The only way Tyrod is in there is if they're competing for the playoffs. You give Herbert, you let him learn on the job. I don't want to say tank. You let him learn on the job. You get a better draft pick. You get beef up the O-line next year, and you roll. They got 2 receivers. Mike Williams had a breakout year last year for him, 1,000 yards. Keenan Allen, not exciting, but he's productive. I don't like their running back situation right now. Austin Eckler, he can catch the ball, but he's not a full-time, back as far as carry.
No, but the thing is, the industry, the mainstream consensus rankings are having Eckler pretty much their top 10 or 12. I don't know where he's sitting right now. I'm not drafting, but the point I'm trying to make is he's not a full workhorse running back. I think he only had 132 attempts. They brought in Joshua Kelly. They drafted him. Man, and again, it's a different quarterback throwing the ball. Is he going to get as many receptions as he did last year? I don't think so. I really don't. So that's a whole other topic here with that.
Tyrod Taylor, like he's a quarterback. If he has a good year, he's throwing 20 touchdowns. He's not a good quarterback.
No, he's not.
I mean, you like him, and I mean, I don't like him.
No, I don't.
The Chargers, they're returning their offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen, or whatever his name is. He's sticking around. He got promoted halfway through his season last year to offensive coordinator. So I don't know. I mean, it's his first year as a full offensive coordinator, calling his own plays. Anthony Lynn, I think Anthony Lynn. I don't know. A lot of people like him. He's a good coach, but I don't know. The Chargers, I feel like they finally moved on from Phillip Rivers, who's out on his vengeance tour. He just came out and said he was aggravated that people said he was washed up. That's another.
Yeah. He wants to win a Super Bowl.
He's in a good spot, but I don't know if he's washed up or not. We don't need to talk about that unless you want to. I don't know. The Chargers don't excite me. They should finish last in that division. I really don't see it. They got a couple studs on defense in Boza. They got the safety Derwin James. They got a couple studs on that defense, though. They really do.
I think they're going to be a mess this year. I'm not sold on them at all.
Yeah, I don't like them. I don't like the Panthers. I don't like the Redskins. Let's talk Redskins. Unless
let's talk Redskins.
Win that job first.
Who's this?
Who's going to win that job? In Chargers. You never said.
Man, I'm going to say Herbert. I'm not sold on Tyrod. I'm not sold on Tyrod at all.
I'm going to disagree with you and say Tyrod wins it. Herbert comes in at some point during the season.
Oh, sorry. I mean, Tyrod gets a start. My bad. But eventually, I didn't mean to win it. Yeah. So, Tyrod starts, wins the job, and then Herbert comes in. I agree.
The Redskins, everyone's saying Haskins the starter, but, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of open competition on this team. The best thing on his side for Haskins, he was a first-round pick last year. He went like 15th overall, but they did trade for Kyle Allen, who Rivera brought with him from Carolina.
Right.
Alex Smith is trying to play again. I talked to somebody, and I don't know if he can. I really don't with the health, but he's working out. I talked to somebody, that in that area that he wants to play. I think Alex Smith. I don't even like talking about this because I don't know if he can return to even what he was. If he was healthy, he'd win this job. He's better than both of the quarterbacks they have.
I think he's done.
Here he got hurt. Alex Smith.
Smith, I read the story on. Sorry to interrupt. I read the story. He almost lost his life because of that leg injury. Got infected, and it was a big, serious thing. And it does a lot to your mental game. It's like you already got the money. You're good. Why put yourself on line? I mean, like I said, he almost lost his leg, almost lost his life from what I heard from that injury. You should go look up. It was a YouTube video with an interview on him. It was really bad.
Yeah. Even at age 36, if he was close to what he was, he'll win the job because he's a lot better than these other guys. But I don't know if he's ever going to be completely healthy enough to move around. And that's the question that I've asked a couple people on the streets in Washington. I don't know. And yeah, you're right. It's a sad story, but it's competitive. You want to go out like that? I mean, he's got he made a lot of money too. He's working out. Listen, he's just keep an eye on it. He's working out. But Ron Rivera had Allen in Carolina. He brings in someone he can trust. I told you coaches love people they can trust, and he's got upside. Maybe Allen will make progress. And I think he has an outside chance to win this job. Coupled with him playing well and Haskins playing poorly in camp and in preseason, Allen did have some good games last year, especially to start the season. As soon as then he started to hit the rookie wall. He had some growing pains. Rivera got fired, and then it was like all hell broke loose for Kyle Allen. Haskins, he looked better as the season went on, but he was never like that guy. Now, I know Lamar wasn't either his end of his rookie year when they brought him on. So maybe I think for Haskins, and I'm not comparing them, but I know for Haskins to succeed, they need to change the offense to fit him. So I think he's worth a shot during camp, and we got to see how it looks. I don't think anybody really knows. I'm treating him more as a rookie too, because he had better numbers, but he wasn't that efficient last year, even though those last few games of the season. I don't know if his ceiling's like a Tyrod Taylor type, because he doesn't wow me, as you say.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Haskins starting this job. I mean, they have to. You can't. This was the guy they brought in to be their franchise guy, apparently, and they've drafted a lot of talent around him. Antonio Gibson at running back, that Antonio Gandy Golden at wide receiver. They've got some talent there. What's that?
McLaurin from last year, his Ohio State team.
Yeah, there's some talent there. Got some veterans there like Peterson that could, bring the team up there. So I don't know. I think it's Haskins' starting job by clear cut. He's the guy. But again, as soon as he starts falling off, maybe 4 or 5 games into the season, then they'll bring in someone else to try to, maybe Allen to come in and try to save it.
Two things. One, Rivera didn't draft him. It's not his guy, but he will get that chance. And Rivera took the best player in the draft in Chase Young. He didn't draft Tua. I mean, if Chase Young wasn't there, I'd be interested to see if he would have took Tua. That would be a very interesting draft pick right there if he was going to take Tua. But maybe he likes what he saw in Haskins college tape, and I think they're going to give him a shot. Sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if he struggles. Kyle Allen gets there sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So I think we both agree on that situation. It's something to keep an eye on. New England, I don't think there's anything to keep an eye on now unless they sign Cam Newton. But I think they want Stidham to work. Listen, can I tell you something?
Yep.
When you have a quarterback under your rookie contract starting, you have the sky's the limit in the amount of money you can spend on other positions. So these coaches want, if you can make that happen. Remember when Russell Wilson was under his rookie contract, Dak Prescott has been up until now. Yeah. You're able to pay people around you. So if Stidham can play the next 3 years as the starter, they don't have to sign him. That, and especially with the COVID salary cap situation, if they have no fans in the stand, they can lose anywhere from $3 to $6 billion on the season. I know they came out and said 3, but that was low. That was low. It should be more towards 4 or 5. I've talked to some other people that hired people to do studies. When you're talking on that level, you're talking a salary cap going from 198 down to the 150s to 160 range. So when you're in that range and all of a sudden the Patriots aren't paying a quarterback 20-25 million a year, I think that's what that's what you want if you can pull that off.
Right. They don't have any really good players on that team that are like superstars. Edelman, is he really a superstar? Right on the who's a superstar on that team?
And Joe Thurney, $14 million in the franchise tag this year. The guard. They're paying Devin McCourty. I think he just re-signed. I don't know how much he got, but he got money. Gilmore on defense. They paid some Hightower. These guys are all getting paid something. On offense, you're talking more offense. I know that.
Offense, that's what I think more. Yeah. No superstars.
No,
not really.
They don't care about that. I mean, I don't know. I think Belichick wants to build a team that he can kind of just, I don't want to say win games, but
retire with a team he can retire.
Prove it. He just wants to build it in his system with his guys. And I mean, you look at some teams, how many stars are there? Like a lot of times, like you see all these teams that sign these mega receivers, running backs, Chiefs had no running back last year. The 49ers, these teams, you spend money on defense, I guess, and on the interior line. And I think that helps you more. I think you need solid players, though. Edelman, I don't think he was underpaid, but he was underpaid for what he did. But I think he fits that system really well.
Right.
He definitely does. So they've had they've had Wes Welker. They went to Edelman. They've had Amendola there. They paid him a decent amount of money for that time period, and he usually hurt a little bit, but he had some good games, good seasons. They had their tight ends. I mean, they had Gronkowski. They always used to pay. They paid him a below market deal. They signed him early to keep him at the discount. I mean, they paid the mass murderer, Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
Or he free. I don't know if it was before.
They get a bunch of scraps from everywhere and build a team together. They're crazy.
Well, they build depth and they want players, like the more quality players. See, that's the difference with them and the Rams. The Rams are a disaster. They're trading away draft picks left and right. That same as the Texans. Sooner or later, that collapses. I mean, the Rams' goal was to go to the Super Bowl that one year or win the Super Bowl was their goal. They went to the Super Bowl. But after that, you can't keep chasing, as they say, good money with bad money. I'm sorry, bad money with good money. Is that how you say it? Because then all of a sudden they traded for Jalen Ramsey again. They got rid of Marcus Peters. They traded for Jalen Ramsey. They lost a first-round pick. Some of the Texans, they trade for this guy. They trade for overpaid. Now you trade for Laramie Tunsil because you don't have a left tackle. Then you overpay him because he's not that good. He's just good. He's not that good. He did his own contract. He held them hostage. Deshaun Watson's going to hold them hostage, make $40 million. That they're trying to get those talks moving right now. I got my buddy who works down there. We'll get him on the show one day. I mean, JJ Watt, he's always injured, but they don't have the depth over there. They traded Clowney away for a 3rd-round pick, but Clowney was overpaid, and they offered him some money too.
Right. They
traded Hopkins away. They brought in Brandon Cooks. It's just like you're making trades. It's like you're patchwork. You know what I mean? Like putting Band-Aids on. You build a team, and that's what Indianapolis is doing too. You can tell he's a great GM, but you see, they're not doing that in the Rams. Out with the old, in with the new. I'm sick of seeing Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford. I think Stafford has a good year, but like, come on, you've been hearing these guys' names. Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning finally took a back seat, and
Finally.
yeah, he's finally gone. I just want some new blood in there. We need some good young quarterbacks to come into play. Like the Matt Ryans, the Matt Staffords. These guys are annoying. They don't win. Sam Bradford's finally gone.
I think Ryan could do well this year. I like Ryan. This is his last.
Yeah.
I think this is it.
I like Stafford better.
You think so? I don't know. I disagree.
I like Stafford. I like him. I think he's a good quarterback. I think that team, I think Patricia's got his team in there, the culture change. I think last year Stafford started off the strongest he's ever started. I think they got some weapons on that offense. They got tight ends. They got running backs now.
Yeah.
Wide receivers. I mean, you tell me what they don't have. You tell me.
Everything.
Division's wide open too.
Right.
Minnesota lost a couple of their starting corners. They lost their offensive coordinator. Mike Zimmer is a good coach, but there's always whispers that he's on the way out because he never gets over that hump. Like, it's like those teams, like they're always in the playoffs, like the Texans right now. But the Texans owner's happy. He's like, hey, we're in the playoffs. That's all that matters. Like, right. Some teams aren't happy. Oh, you get in the playoffs. I want a Super Bowl. Right?
Yeah.
Well, you're starting to see the young quarterbacks take over the league. Lamar Jackson, let's see what he does year 2. Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, to see if Prescott can be a winning quarterback. You got Aaron Rodgers on his way out in a couple of years. Drew Brees, a year or 2 away. Russell Wilson's probably one of the top 3 quarterbacks. Tom Brady's got a couple of years. I don't know how many years he has left. He keeps playing. Ben Roethlisberger is another 3, right? He's an injury away from the morgue. I mean, you're going to have, the new, like, you got Carson Wentz, Jared Goff. Let's see what he is. Garoppolo I like Garoppolo. I think he's a winner. You got,
He's solid. Garoppolo's solid.
I like
him. Fantastic, but he's solid.
He's good. He needs to make a couple better throws. I mean, I think the Derek Carrs, the Tannehills, the Kirk Cousins, those guys are starting to separate themselves and showing their true colors. You know who they are. I told you I don't like Tannehill. You got a man crush on him for some reason.
Just for fantasy, as a backup quarterback. That's as far as I'm invested with Tannehill. He's a backup quarterback with massive upside. That's it. That's as far as we go.
I guess so. And let's see then you got the other group. You got the Daniel Jones, the Baker Mayfield, the Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Sam Darnold, Gardner Minshew, the young guys hitting their 2nd and 3rd seasons. And that should be interesting to see if any of these guys can be like, is Darnold going to end up being like the next Matt Ryan or Stafford? Or
No. I don't see it. I don't see it at all.
Well, those guys were number 1 picks coming out. They were surefire studs coming out, like, guaranteed to be like, slingers, pocket passing slingers. That's not what you have in Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen, you have more of I don't want to say a Russell Wilson guy. He needs to evolve every year and become a better player, Josh Allen. That's the problem.
Andrew Luck, but a better runner? What
I like Andrew Luck. No, he's not. Andrew Luck is Andrew Luck, when he was in college, you knew he was going to be
special. He was special.
They said when he was in college, he was the best quarterback to come out in a decade, like the prospect of the decade.
I'm still upset about that. I still think he shouldn't have retired, but I mean, it is what it is. Preserve his body.
I mean, the fans were pissed. Remember, hey, I try. You pay season tickets, you bust your ass. You already paid for your season tickets. You're retiring the day before. Give me my money back.
Of course.
What the fuck?
Andrew Luck was a huge draw there. So
I like the guy. Yeah.
So let's wrap this up with Colin Kaepernick here. I mean, there's teams. I think Goodell's saying that they want to, he should be signed or should get back in. Like, what happens with Kaepernick? Is there a team that he could start on right away?
No. Here's the deal. You got to understand, we're coming into COVID 2020.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks test positive. The rule right now from someone I spoke to yesterday is you're going to be out 14 days in quarantine, which obviously people know that. That's just common. That's normal rules. So I think because of COVID or something like that, he will get a shot. Somebody's going to, because what happens if all 3 quarterbacks in your quarterback room get it?
Right.
There's things like that they're discussing behind the scenes that you don't know about, that I don't know about, which should be affecting. You should have a COVID fantasy football. What if?
Right.
Honestly, there's things you don't know. And I spoke to someone yesterday and they were like, listen, that's a real concern. They're worrying about how they're going to do these meetings because if 2 or 3 guys get it in the quarterback room or in any position room, you need to have guys ready. So a lot of people I spoke to think he's going to get a shot, and it's because of that. It's a good segue into that. I don't know if I think because of that, and after guys something happens in that situation. Right now, I don't see him anywhere. I can see, say for the Texans, if Watson in gets it or something, that maybe they bring him in.
Now he hasn't played. Like, what happens typically with players that haven't played for like 3 to 4 years? He hasn't played since 2016.
Yeah,
He'll
I
be
don't
rusty. He'll be rusty.
rusty.
You don't think so?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he's going to be more than rusty.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that good. I mean, listen, he even if you bring him in as a backup quarterback, like who's the guys, like some of the guys we just mentioned, like a Tyrod Taylor. Listen, the teams don't want the publicity. You think Bill Belichick wants to answer questions on the backup quarterback every day? They don't want that. Somebody told me the other day there was some team that wanted to sign him, but the owner wouldn't sign off on it. And I think you're going to see that again. Then you're going to see some. Listen, if COVID happens and the guys get quarantined, you're going to see some desperation and it will get signed. But to make your point valid even more, he's going to be rusty for sure. Yeah.
I mean, then you got to deal with the drama. There's going to be politics around it, big time politics around that team. And is that going to take away from the focus of the team? And I think it will. Right? There's going to be so much around it.
Yeah, but what about if he comes in and plays bad for a couple games and they take him out? Then you're going to hear all this bullshit. That they took him out and they didn't give him a chance and they cut him. So there's a lot more that goes into it, I think.
Right. There's a lot of heat the team's going to take to have him on. There's a lot behind it. And again, my main concern is from a football standpoint, though. Is he going to be capable to go in there after being off so long? That's my biggest concern too. Can he play? Can he play?
I don't think so.
Right. That's a big question. So yeah, man, I don't know what happens with him. It's going to be interesting to watch. And then all this drama with the kneeling this year. There's going to be a lot of drama around that. To kneel or not to kneel. We're not going to debate on this. Maybe we'll make a whole other episode about it. Not going to get into it. But yeah, that's going to be a huge thing that's going to be going on around the league this year that people are going to be talking about. And maybe that's going to create some more drama around the league, around players and attitudes. And it's going to be an interesting year to watch, but
for sure.
So yeah, Tom, that's it, man. There's your QB battles. We really dove in there and discussed it. Now you've got a podcast too. How do they find you, Tom? What's your podcast?
Yeah, it's just doing some bonus episodes now. It's been on Apple, the Tom Santinello Show, and we're going to launch it live for the season. But it's live now with just bonus episodes going football, and I start bringing guests on every week. Sometimes a lot of guests, people in the industry, maybe former players. Haven't decided on everything yet. Some NFL reporters, some other people. Yeah. It's just going to be talking football and some other stuff. I did a couple episodes, some position previews. Talked about the other day about baseball and football, how things could start to turn sour with football when they start to come around with the CBA and negotiating for the season to happen. So it's on Apple and Spotify and every other podcast network now. And then I think YouTube should be up this week at some point.
Lots of good insights. So we'll link it below. Okay, guys? Well, thanks for being here, Tom. Every Wednesday, we're talking QB battles today. Hope you guys enjoyed that. A lot of insight from Tom Santinello from a reality point of view. So, all right, Tom, thanks for being here, guys. And for fantasy, stay away from these guys. Most of these guys, anyway, that we talked about, they haven't even secured their position. There's a ton of quarterback depth where you can get a quarterback that's going to start and not have to worry about a QB battle. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everybody. Leave a comment below your questions, and we are out.